Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, a gaming bill. Also, who are the leading candidates in District 2? And there's a push for ethics reform, at least a shot. Somebody's going to get hurt. I mean, seriously hurt. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, investigative reporter and columnist at APR. Welcome.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
So, last week we talked a little bit, Josh, about the gaming legislation that Speaker Ledbetter said he wants to bring.
Right.
And we talked about how there's going to be resistance. There always is.
Mm-hmm.
But the good news is that the legislature has passed several bills in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
They always died in the House.
Yeah.
So it is going to be incumbent upon Speaker Ledbetter to get this out of the House and to the Senate, where we know it'll pass.
Yeah. And that, the story that I wrote was that it had a chance. And really the reason I think it has the best chance of one that's come along in a while is because it does have leadership in the House behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And historically, that has not been the case. Where they have mostly kind of begrudgingly said, okay, we'll let it go on the floor, but we're not getting involved. Y'all vote your conscience. And that has always ended up backfiring on the legislation. And so, but now with this being pushed, the leadership of both houses have authority in things, and they can push things through, and they can make sure that things get done. And I think that's going to be a very key component to this getting done.
Well, Susan, a couple of things that happened after 2020 when they let the whole thing, or 2022, when they let it just die in the House, is Mac McCutcheon, who then was the Speaker, said that was one of his biggest regrets, was not getting gaming legislation passed. And Governor Kay Ivey said in 2022, one of her biggest regrets was not getting gaming passed. Well, we need to stop regretting and start doing, right?
I think Speaker Ledbetter is not going to be able to say that at the end of this session. I think he's fairly committed to making this happen. He is tired of hearing it. He's tired of having to wrangle with it. The houses have wrangled with it for years and years. And he's just, and in the meantime, left millions and millions and millions of tax dollars on the floor of the casinos.
Yeah. And it's just, the Porch Creek Indians run a top ship.
Mm-hmm.
So does the McGregor family over at
and as well as Green Track,
Victory Land, and up at the Birmingham racetrack. The problem is we've got all these mom and pop deals over here.
Illegal.
And we got some big illegal ones too.
Yes.
That are operating, Josh. And meanwhile, the state is not getting any tax dollars out of those folks.
Yeah.
And we're losing hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're not losing millions. We're losing billions.
Yeah.
We've left billions of dollars over the years. So, just by not regulating and taxing the gaming that we have in the state. And it's everywhere. And that's one of the reasons, it's one of the big pushes that they have going forward with this gaming bill is that we want to regulate what's taking place in the state. And we really want to crack down on this. And so that's what they're going to try to do, because they went out as a group and investigated what was really going on in the state. And that's what, when I spoke to Speaker Ledbetter, that's what he was saying was we went out and we looked at these things expecting to find that there would be dozens of these gaming establishments around the state, and there weren't. There were thousands of them. There were more than 1,000, and they were in every county basically. And people raking in money hand over fist, and there were all sorts of other illegal activities that were taking place at these facilities.
Josh, you wrote a story probably a year or so ago about millions of dollars going to a post office box in a gas station or convenience store from one of these casinos.
Yeah, $32 million and a payment to some group that we still don't really know who it is or where they're from or what they're doing, but they were paid a $32 million management fee by one of the casinos, which in and of itself is illegal because you're not supposed to have a management company managing the games.
Yeah.
But and so that's sort of, it gives people, I think, a better idea of just how much money is running through these places, because that is one establishment in Greene County, a tiny, tiny Greene County, was able to fork over $32 million one year in a management fee.
Susan, when we hear folks talk about, we don't want to expand gaming, we don't want, or they say we don't want to have gaming in Alabama, we don't want to have it at all. Well, they're just lying to the people that pay them and telling them, oh, we're going to stop gaming. No, you're not.
Gaming's already here.
Yeah.
Gaming has been here for decades. It's going to be here. The problem is you've got to be able to tax it. You've got to be able to regulate it. You've got to be able to get these illegal people shut down in order to be able to manage the problem. You know, we have it here. It's just not managed. It's just not taxed. And I tell you what, people always say, too, they want the right to vote on it. Remember, the legislature does not make the decision.
Right.
They are not the final decision on this. It is the Alabama voter. And people want their opportunity and have wanted it for years, have asked us for years, why won't they let us vote on gaming?
And I have to bring this in. I'm going to, what do you call it, a point of personal privilege. So up in Ohio, you know, they had the referendum on abortion, and it just, the people voted overwhelmingly to allow abortion to take place in Ohio. And then they overwhelmingly voted on a state constitutional issue to let the state have legalized recreational marijuana. And one of the far right Republicans got up and said, he said, this is just wrong. This shouldn't happen. See, this is what happens when you have democracy.
Yeah. Democracy is a poor way to run a country. That's what he said. This was not some far right. This was Rick Santorum, who was running for president, who said this. And so
with his vest and everything.
Yeah, exactly. But back to what you're saying, it's right. You're all going to allow the people to vote on this thing. And what I think people need to understand is, while you're talking about expanding the games within the facility, right? And we're talking about maybe 10 facilities around the state that are regulated and licensed by the state and monitored closely, and people are going in and looking at what's taking place, and there's a whole lot of enforcement in this thing. So you're talking about basically 10 resorts around, nice hotel resorts, like something similar to what the Porch Creeks currently have, but expanded, and having activities for the families, versus a covered shed somewhere in the back room with a couple of, one-armed bandits that you're pulling in, and, somebody's dumping money into, and you don't know what the payouts are, if they're regulated or not.
Silk and candy and fentanyl and
PCI
ice.
have a movie theater. They have a bowling alley. They have a spa. They have a concert venue. We're talking about more than just down here at 77 Easy Shop.
Look at what is at Victoryland right now that's currently not being used because of our idiotic laws and things that have gone on. This glistening gold hotel that's there along that nobody has ever really slept in, And there is a whole plan for this entertainment facility around there, where a concert hall and all sorts of things.
All right. Well, and I'm sure y'all do too, wish Speaker Ledbetter steel spine, get it done. Right?
Yes.
All right. You're watching The V. We'll be right back.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Officer 911, There seems to be a new wave of aggressive driving lately.
You see those people, they are the ones that are tailgating other people because they have to get to their destination now.
Weaving in and out of traffic, looks like they could care less about who's around them. There's no one else on the roadway. They're the only one there.
Aggressive driving can be the difference between life and death.
All because somebody thought they needed to be the front of the line and get there first.
Slow down. Don't be the reason that someone else doesn't go home tonight.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. Susan, as you, Josh, and I know, in 2010, the Republicans came in and passed what was then called the toughest in the nation ethics reform package.
What were they thinking?
Huh?
That's what they said.
That's what they said. Well, and they were very proud of that
They
2010
were.
ethics package because it really was a tough ethics package.
Right up until they started going to jail.
The only problem was when Republicans started breaking it,
Yeah.
and namely, one of the chief architects, Mike Hubbard, who was the Speaker of the House, first Republican Speaker of the House since Reconstruction, he broke it, he smashed it, and in emails he said, "Those ethics laws, what were we thinking?"
Yeah, exactly.
And then he jumped up and down on it a few times.
Yeah. And so he went to prison. He did a lot less time than he should have, but he did time as he should. But ever since Mike Hubbard was convicted, they have fought to weaken it, to destroy it, to take it back to what they claimed were the corrupt old days of the Democrats.
They didn't. It wasn't just his conviction. They were trying to do it before he ever got convicted to try to get him out from under what he was already being
That's true.
charged
That's
with.
true.
They wiggled this from the very moment.
Yeah.
You know, they got under it and they realized exactly how strict they were, and they couldn't have as much fun as the Democrats did back when they were in the minority.
Yeah.
The Republicans were in the minority. They couldn't take the $1,000 briefcases and this and that and the other. And gee whiz,
Well,
what were we thinking?
They would, and Josh, we've seen a bill in 2019 by then Representative Mike Ball. We saw one in 19 or 20 by Ball, 19 by Greg Albritton, and all of them severely weaken it, allow for unlimited giving from lobbyists. They allow them to actually work in economic development and vote on a bill that would affect that economic development. I mean, and the absurdity of you can take all the gifts that you want and then you're going to report them, or somebody's going to report them to the Ethics Commission. The Ethics Commission is going to have a repository so that voters can be aware of it, like every voter knows where to go to.
Let's don't be vague about some of this. All right. So one of the things that Mike Hubbard did is he took a consulting contract from a company.
Yeah.
And that company paid him thousands of dollars per month for his work, and he had no expertise in what this company was doing. And the only reason to pay him is because of his position of power. And then he went and got language inserted into the budget of the state that would have made it to where this company was the only one that would have qualified for a lucrative contract.
Right.
So if you think that is fair, then vote for the ethics reforms.
Yeah.
And
If you think that's how the government should work, vote for the ethics reforms.
He voted on that positive,
Yes.
a yay vote 12 times.
Yes.
Again, he was charged with 23.
Yeah, and I don't want to keep banging on Mike Hubbard. I'm just saying that this is the sort of things that are that we're talking about with the ethics laws and stuff.
And Josh, before the 2010 ethics law, it was unlimited gift from lobbyists.
Yes.
And when she was talking about a $1,000 briefcase, it wasn't just the $1,000 briefcase. It was the bundles of hundreds that were stacked in the briefcase.
Yeah.
Lobbying firms would have deals at clothing stores.
We all know the clothing store where they had the accounts.
You know, go over.
Yeah.
And I remember one lobbyist saying that that guy hadn't paid for shoes in 20 years.
Yeah,
we buy them.
I've followed people into these places and seen them do it, and it was a running joke for years. And they act like that. What kills me about this is their excuse for this reform is, well, you're catching businessmen that are just trying to conduct business. My God, what businessman would ever do this? There are businessmen right now in the legislature in both houses. They get up, go down there, do their business, come home, and they've never once concerned themselves with an ethics violation at all.
Right.
They have never even towed the line. They've never come close. Nobody's ever even thought about asking them because they're not interested in doing that sort of dealing.
Right.
Well, and if you look at what they're wanting to change in the ethics laws, it's stuff like who's a principal, which goes back to Mike Hubbard. You know, what's the limit on, or lack thereof, on lobbyist spending and gifts and dining out and all of those things. It's going strictly back to we don't want to get Hubbarded.
Well, the thing that bothers me is, okay, if you are a member of the U.S. House of Representatives or the Senate, you cannot take anything from anybody. But somehow, here in Alabama, if you're in the State House making $50,000 for your part-time job, you can take an unlimited amount of money to go to trips, to to tie one on in Bangkok, or to go out to dinner or get suits and gifts for you and your family.
Yeah.
That is legal corruption. That's all that is.
But they're also not only wanting to open that up, they're wanting to take it. I mean, this gets, at this point in the ethics law, as the current ethics law is, this gets prosecuted out of the Attorney General's office, right? What they want to do is diminish the Attorney General's involvement and put it with local DAs. Now, local DAs have already got their hands full of everything else in the world besides dealing with these bozos down in Montgomery.
And they don't have the expertise to do it.
They don't.
And it's just, and they don't want to touch it because there's no incentive for them to do this whatsoever.
No.
And we all know how this is going to wind up.
Yeah, nobody gets prosecuted.
No.
I mean, under our current Attorney General, no one but constables and sheriffs and people like that have been brought before with any ethics charges. He hasn't touched a single Democrat or Republican. The feds have, but he hasn't done anything because he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to do it, so he doesn't have to do it. And so we have criminal in doing work in the State House, I'm sure, but nobody's caught him. But in 2017, Matt Hart, who was a prosecutor in the Mike Hubbard case, Luther Strange, a task force of smart people, including lawyers, sat down and wrote a new ethics code that strengthened the 2010 one and clarified.
Exactly.
And Dale Marsh, who was the Senate President pro tem then, and Mac McCutcheon, who was the Speaker of the House then, all agreed that they would bring that bill. And then Luther Strange took an appointment to Washington to become a failed senator, and Steve Marshall was appointed.
There comes
Steve
that name
Marshall
again.
Killed it.
Yeah.
He put his thumb on the scale and said, no, we're not doing that. And this is what we're facing now. The same kind of thing that the Republicans railed against in 2009 and 2010 to say that Democrats were corrupt. Yeah. Well, right now, we're going to have the pot calling the kettle black.
There's only one reason to do it. Yeah. You want to cheat the system.
That's right.
There's only one reason to do it. You want to be, the rich people want to have the ability to cheat the system.
That's it. All right. We're going to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Today, Montgomery is a safer city. It's time to shift the narrative and take control of our future. We're reopening community centers, remediating blight, and revitalizing neighborhoods across the city. And we're unleashing new opportunities. Over the past year, companies have invested a record-setting $2 billion in Montgomery and created 2,000 jobs. This is a new Montgomery. And together, we're reimagining the possibilities.
As a paramedic, you wouldn't believe the things that we've seen.
I've seen all types of horrible things.
I mean, we're there basically picking up the pieces from your worst day.
Everyone is just driving and not paying attention.
We all have the same goal. All of us want to go home alive and safe and harm nobody else in the process.
Slow down. Be careful. Care about the other people on the road. Don't be the reason that someone else doesn't go home tonight.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. It is a very crowded field in the House District 2. the newly drawn district that is split kind of evenly between black voters and white voters, a little bit more on the white voter side. But it's a district, Josh, that we believe will lean heavily Democratic. We believe that's the case. There are some 20 candidates that have qualified. We had 21. One dropped out almost immediately. So I'd like to kind of, from your perspective, who are you seeing and hearing that look like kind of the breakout stars of this on the Democratic side?
Well, I mean, I think everybody would kind of start with Anthony Daniels,
Yeah.
the current House Minority Leader in Alabama. He has the ability to raise a lot of money very quickly, I think, and I don't think it was an accident that on the same day he announced that he was running for this, that he also held a signing ceremony with the governor at Hyundai in Montgomery to tout the overtime tax repeal bill that he had sponsored and created. So that should indicate to everybody how formidable Anthony will be in this. Right. And so I think he is. Honestly, everybody. What I think kind of hamstrings this from every other angle on this is you don't really have a local person to that district. I mean, you have Napoleon Bracey that's down in Mobile, and you have Figures who's down in Mobile, and they're all they're good, but you don't. I think Montgomery is the hub of this, and you don't have somebody, a real known commodity from Montgomery that's in this race, and so to me, I would take pretty much everybody else and kind of lump them together. Yeah. I mean, we're going to have Marika Coleman is very good, and she's very well known, and she'll be good on the campaign trail. She'll get a lot of attention. Jeremy Gray is very good. He's got a good platform. Right. Heard a lot of people talk about him. Wandlin Gavon will attract some attention because she'll go after everybody and say just whatever's on her mind at the time. Yeah. But they don't have those connections in that voter base there, and so I think they're going to have to build it over time, and I don't know that they can attract the money that Daniels is going to attract to be able to do that.
That's right. There are some very attractive candidates. Any of these candidates here would do a good job. There's not one of them that would not do a good job. The question is, like you said, who can get the money and who has the name ID or can raise the ID? Because Susan, this primary election is in March, and in political time, that's nothing. Yeah, right. I mean, that's nothing, and you got to get over 20%. You do to get even close to being in the runoff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the thing with there is Dick Brubaker, speaking of Montgomery area, has really good name ID, but is a Republican, and while he might make it through the primary against the other two candidates, Greg Albritton and Wallace Gilberry, I don't think he's going to be able to make it through the general because of the kind of left-leaning, middle-of-the-road area that the district is.
Well, I think he's come out of the box very MAGA sounding, which has never been the way I envisioned Dick Brubaker. Whereas you look at the way Greg Albritton has come out, and it's been very Greg Albritton, laid back. I want to get stuff done. I want to concentrate on business and families and getting stuff done for my district like I've done all this time. Now, Wallace Gilberry, I don't know, Josh. Do you know him?
I mean, he's a University of Alabama player, football player, played in the NFL for a period of time. I don't know. Politically, I have zero idea about Wallace Gilberry, and was really surprised to kind of see his name in this. Right. It's interesting to have a black Republican in this state. We have one currently in the legislature, and so that is a bit of an anomaly. But at the same, in that district, I don't know how that will play. I really don't. I don't know how, because the Republicans, to me, in that district, you're going to have to go kind of MAGA there, because it's once you get outside of Montgomery, some hardcore white people, and so and the polling down there shows that they vote on race like upwards of 90% of the time. Right. So that's a problem for like Greg Albritton, who's going to be laid back and play off of it, while you have somebody like Dick Brubaker who is pushing it. Yeah. They're going to lose that race, or they're going to have to jump into that sort of realm of crazy talk that for me anyways. But I just don't know that you can do to Susan's point. I don't know that you can compete on the Republican side and say the crazy things and then reel it back in enough in the general.
And these days, back in the, before 2016, people ran either left or right in the primary, and then they brought it back together in the middle for the general. Anymore, they just run straight, especially Republicans. They run as far away from the center as humanly possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for most of the races that they're in the state are so gerrymandered that that's all they have to do. You know,
Yeah, they don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Well, that's nationwide.
Yeah.
Because the court had to make them re-gerrymander the maps twice.
Yeah, well, you know, we are the make-me state, as you know. I want to move on here. It's incumbent versus incumbent in District 1. Barry Moore was unceremoniously drawn out of his district, as we knew he would be. He was the least popular congressman in the state. He is popular with the Freedom Caucus, the hard right caucus that has caused a lot of problems in Washington, D.C., and still continues to have a lot of problems. He's very close with Jim Jordan, we understand, the speaker for almost half a second, but didn't quite make it. But a firebrand and loved by the MAGA folks, and Barry is very MAGA. Jerry Carl, I think, is a very conservative guy. I don't think you can get right of him.
Yeah.
You can get crazier than him.
Yeah, probably.
But do the people in District 1 want that kind of hardcore, politician, or some guy like Jerry Carl, who's conservative, but has ran the county commission, served the people of that area time and time again? I mean, Barry Moore really is recently new by congressional standards. I mean, how many terms is he? 4 terms or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure with Barry, but I think you're right. They're both very, very conservative, and I mean, God bless the people of District 1. But I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know what people want. In that sort of an area. I don't, we elected Mo Brooks they elected Mo Brooks for 10, 20 years up here.
Never passed a bill.
Yeah, never passed a bill.
And what I think voters need to look at, and I myself need to go and look at, what has Jerry Carl done? What has Barry Moore done? In the time that they've been there, I would be willing to bet that Jerry Carl has been working for the citizens of his district, while Barry Moore's been spewing MAGA stuff.
Well, I think one thing we have to correct is Barry Moore did say now he's not taking money from the Club for Growth, which we thought he was. He's not, so correction there. But we're going to have to leave it right there. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.